Calling our meeting to order at 9:11 a.m. Thank you for coming to our City Commission meeting for Tuesday, July the 13th, 2021. At this time, we will have invocation by Associate Pastor Grady Booth, First Baptist Church of Lynn Haven.
Will you join me in prayer? Omnipotent Father, you are ever present in the affairs of men. Your word instructs and tells us that we as men may plan our steps, but you guide and direct us. In your providence and your sovereignty, you appoint kings and leaders over nations. You direct governments, Lord. So we humbly come before you today at this meeting, and we ask you to guide and direct in the planning for your people in this community, and that we would follow you and bring you glory in the decisions that we make. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name, amen. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. This time we'll move on to our public commentary. Please remember to address your comments to the chair. Please wait to be recognized and limit your comments to 3 minutes, which will be done by the sound of the bell. This time we're for public commentary.
Ryan Scray, 1702 Missouri. I just want to pass along some appreciation to the Public Works Department and stormwater situation. Obviously, we've been hammered by rain the last, 3 weeks, 4, I don't even know, who knows how long, right? But I know that it's been above average according to the weather data collected and rainfall gauges and everything. And I just want to say thanks to all the hard work they've been doing, because the property across from mine is an elderly couple, retired, and their yard sits a lot lower than mine on the other side of the street. And last year they got flooded every time it rained. No flooding this year. With all this rain, everything was great. I know there's some properties around the city that have been flooding a little bit, but it seems like Bobby and Chris and their team are working hard, and a lot of people are, reaching out for help and getting the help they need. So that whole crew is definitely doing their job. We're getting our money's worth out of that. So just wanted to pass along, some words of positivity on that aspect, and hopefully we can carry that through July, because July is supposed to be a wet month too. So,
thank you, Mr. Freddie.
Good morning. First, I want to thank God for all of us being here this morning. And my complaint is the same.
Mr. Freddie, if you could give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Freddie Parham, and I live at 1503 Louisiana Avenue. I've been in Lynn Haven for 22 years. And my complaint been going on for 12 years, and I haven't gotten anything done since then. The water is running down from the street into my yard, and it's getting worse. And I was here about a couple of months ago, and I talked to Lightfoot. He came by there, but nothing been done. The water just keep coming. The more it rains, the more it comes into the yard. And eventually, it's going to get underneath the house if we don't have a drain system to do that. We got 3 houses, 1505, 1501, and 1503. Them the 3 houses have the worst problem. That's the only thing I got to complain about. But other than that, I need to try to get that done. I hope it don't be another 12 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public commentary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commission, and Mr. Pat Perno, about the nicest guy I've ever known. It's good to see you, Pat. Pastor Nelson, Mayor Nelson, I am here. I'm a watchdog journalist.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
8317 Front Beach Road. Yes, sir. And I've been focused on local governments for more than a decade here. And my efforts have been really focused in Panama City Beach. In fact, your campaign manager, Arthur Cullen, had been telling everybody that what I was saying in Panama City Beach was not true. He was wrong. Last year, every single member of the council since 2016 has to comply with a federal subpoena for public corruption. So I'm here today because I just want to address a statement that you made on your first day, and this is just a very short 10-second clip.
Degree. Then it was questioning whether or not it was a doctorate of leadership, doctorate of ministry, what type of doctorate it was. I have an earned doctorate with an emphasis in leadership, hence a doctorate of leadership. And so I would just like to provide clarity on that.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't get clarity on that. As a matter of fact, both you and Commissioner Jamie Warwick ran for office a couple of months ago on mentioning your graduate degrees. And I asked both of you a couple of weeks ago if I could see your diplomas, just to verify them. And within 2 hours, Commissioner Warwick had provided me copies of his diploma. But you had sent me an email that said that you had already addressed the issue. But I don't think that you have, Mr. Mayor, nor have you clarified it as of yet. And I was hoping that we could resolve that here today. I wouldn't ask you for anything that I wouldn't show myself. I have a master's degree in print journalism, and I brought it here. It's in print journalism. And it's from USC in Los Angeles. And I'm very proud of it, as I know you are. And by the way, Dr. Nelson, I know that you have a doctorate degree, and I don't question that at all. Now let's think about leadership, though, if we can. Leadership does not include gaslighting people. And it is my opinion that when you mentioned misinformation was spread throughout the community, I believe that started when you posted on bayvotes.org that you had a doctorate in leadership. It is illegal to misrepresent a postgraduate degree. And you can see for yourself, I believe it's 817.566, and I think that you're misrepresenting your doctorate degree. And I think you know it. Right now on the city website, it lists that you have a doctorate degree in leadership. Now, I know you have a doctorate degree in ministry. And I think that my question is a reasonable one. Consider this. My master's degree is in print journalism. If I applied for a job in broadcast journalism at WMBB and said that because I took classes I had a broadcast journalism degree, it wouldn't be honest, and it would be illegal, and I wouldn't do that. It's a distinction with a difference, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Is that the 3 minutes?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have to finish this next time. I'm just hoping that we can get some resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Christy McElroy, Port St. Joe, Florida. I wasn't sure that I was even going to address this, but since we are talking about leadership, my last comment was concerning Chief Ramey and what he did during the campaign. And as you recall, Mr. Mayor, I said as a leader, you should have stepped up and said that was inappropriate. You never did. And I think that's because you were led in a way that maybe you felt like that wasn't what you needed to do. You were led by Arthur Cullen. And Arthur Cullen has had his own problems. And I think if you're going to talk about someone during a campaign, you better make sure that when you open up that closet, you don't have a lot of skeletons rattling around on your own. And that's the thing that really bothers me today in America. We have gone so low, and people like Arthur Cullen, who has skeletons, should not be giving advice to people that run our governments. It's too important, and it was wrong what happened. So, Mr. Mayor, I am going to ask you, you can think about this, but I'm not going away, and I would like you to address it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any additional public commentary? We're just having technical difficulties today. This time we have our mayor's report. Past couple of weeks since our last commission meeting have been very busy in our community. A few weeks ago, we were able to post a new nickname of a block for the New York Avenue for Miss Stanley. That was a great time of gathering. I want to thank all the city employees that were able to come out, those that were able to put it up. The family was just very honored, and so that was just a great moment for our community. Thank you to Commissioner Perno for being able to come out that day as well. And so that was again, a great moment. I just continue to hear good compliments about that since that time. Also, we had our grand opening at our new park, and that was a real exciting day for all of Bay County. And from what I'm seeing on Facebook, people are enjoying the park, and so that's very pleasing. Again, thank you to the commissioners that were able to come to that. I believe Mr. Aldridge, you were there. I believe you offered the prayer for that. Mr. Perno, and the other officials that were able to be there as well. We had officials from Bay County, Panama City Beach, Bay County Chamber of Commerce. So it was just a real nice community event. And then on the 4th of July, that was a great day for our community also, and all of us were able to ride on the float and throw out candy. I think we gave out a candy before we finished, at least our side, at least the Pat, he was slow on giving me the candy, so we're trying to throw it out, but I think we were able to get it all out, and so it was a great day of celebration, great day of festivities, and thankfully the rain held out until later on that evening as we were doing our fireworks, and so that was a real exciting day for all of Bay County, especially for our families here in Lynn Haven, and saw nothing but just great compliments about those festivities, especially the fireworks, and so I'm just looking forward to just more events like that. Been able to be on a few FEMA calls with city manager to get updates on where we are in receiving our funding. Also, just want to remind everyone about our upcoming 3-on-3 back to school basketball tournament. This will be the first one that we've done here in Lynn Haven. Some of you might have saw some footage about it on Channel 7. So we're real excited about that. And the tournament isn't just geared for those who have a great skill set in basketball. It's open for anyone who is ages 7 to 16. It's really about just trying to get our kids excited about going back to school. And so we'll have different games, a variety of contests, 3-point contests, free throw contests, DJ, other forms of entertainment, food, hamburgers, hot dogs. And so it's going to be a really great day. And that's going to be on July the 31st. At King Griffin Park from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can go onto the city's website under the sports page and click on the 3-on-3 basketball link, and you'll go to a Google Doc, and you can register there. For those who maybe not be able to bring a whole team together of 3 individuals, then you can actually just sign up as one person, and then we will put you on a team for that day. And so encourage your children, grandchildren, neighbors, kids you see in the community to just sign up for it. Also, for those that will be attending that day, the first 100 students will receive a backpack with school supplies in it from Pastors United. Local pastors group here will be helping sponsor that. I want to thank Beef O'Brady's, Mega Sports, and our other sponsors for helping us with this 3-on-3 basketball tournament. And we're hoping that we can plan it for years to come, but we're just excited about this first one that we're having, and just hope that it's a time to bring our community together, just to continue to demonstrate that we are greater together. So that's my report for today. Commissioner Aldridge, anything for you to report?
You got to leave me something, Mayor, every now and then. Hard to follow that. I agree and echo all the sentiments that the mayor just made. It's been a busy 3 weeks since our last meeting, but it's been a good 3 weeks. The parade was a lot of fun. The Dunkin' booth was a great time. The kids had a real big time coming up there and dunking all of us multiple times. Pat loved it, being in the Dunkin' booth. Took a lot of water out. But that's about all I have as well, Mayor. We've filled in some calls, filled in some emails like we usually do. But other than that, it's just been a good couple of weeks. And I'm so happy and proud to see our community starting to get along and go the same direction on things. And I'm hearing more and more positivity come out of the public as well, just out and about, people talking about the stormwater issues, or people talking about, just the overall aesthetics of our town. And it's just really good to hear, because it was really, really negative for those that were here right after the storm. everybody kind of had the molly grubs, you know, it's like, oh, this is going to take forever in our life. Well, now we're actually getting on the other side of that tunnel, and I'm starting to see that. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Parno?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to go ahead and echo everything. The park, it's amazing. The dedication to the block at the Lynn Haven Elementary was really amazing. Meeting the family and knowing what that's going to mean. And one of the officers worked with Miss Dot, and you know, he said that he used to drive by just to get some wisdom from her, and you know, the people that had her across the street for, gosh, how many years she did it. It's just amazing. So that was really, really touching. The 3-on-3 basketball, Mayor, I'm glad you don't have an age category for 55 and above, because after the Duncan booth, I don't think I could physically do it. So I'd like to thank everybody personally that dunked me. And then over the last couple of weeks, I've actually had some chances to help some citizens with some situations, and right up until last night. But there's one citizen in particular that I've been trying to help, and I've brought a letter to the city manager, and I'm just trying to get someone to reach out and talk to this person about his situation and how he feels about it. And I don't know if I'm helping him or not, but it's Mr. Robert Duncan, and I wanted to mention his name. And I know Miss Vicky, I know you're working on it, but as of last night, he texted me, and nobody's talked to him. Nobody from the city's talked to him, and I've asked someone to talk to him 3 different times now. So somebody's got to get out to him and just converse with him about what he's asking us to do, and how he feels about a situation in his neighborhood. So if I could just appeal publicly to say that. So, and with that, I also ran into a gentleman who was thanking me up and down about his ditch behind his house over here at Pennsylvania and 6th, and I said, you don't have to thank me, thank Bobby and Chris Lightfoot, and he's really happy. He said he asked folks about it a year ago, and he didn't think anything would happen, and then lo and behold, a couple weeks ago, his ditch got cleared out, and he couldn't be happier. So I think that's happening quite a bit all over town. So I really think this is a time of year after the 4th and everything where people are pretty optimistic about the city, and I hope we're going in the right direction. So I'd like to thank all our city employees and first responders. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ward?
Yes. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the grand opening of the Bayou Park, but I did take my family over there, and you know, of course, I saw the pictures of it and that. But when I got over there, it was a lot bigger than I was expecting, and there's definitely a lot of activities to do. Whether you like to walk, run, exercise, fishing, and kayaking, and
like 98 acres.
Yeah, it's really big, and if you haven't gone, check it out. I'd recommend you go check it out. It's pretty neat. You know, I know there's a couple issues they're fixing. That's normal, but I'm pretty proud of it. One of the things that we did a stratification workshop, and I did learn quite a bit from that. Got to meet some of the department heads I haven't met yet, and one of the things we talked about was infrastructure. We do realize that a lot of the infrastructure has been outdated. A lot of it's been updated, and we're going the right direction. And the big thing that we focused on was preventive maintenance, and they all understood that. They pretty much what I was saying. They were already on board and already practicing it. So I think that's a big thing in the future for Lynn Haven, is not only updating our infrastructure but doing preventive maintenance so we don't get in this position to begin. Because we just went and had the stormwater thing with Stantec, and hopefully, you know, if we do this right, we don't ever have to go through that again. And had a couple phone calls for residents, working a couple issues, and that's pretty much it for me.
Commissioner Tender?
Thank you, Mayor. Over the past couple of weeks, I've had a few issues with residents. The city manager has taken care of or answered what we can do to two of them. Yesterday, I received 2 phone calls about a tree behind Walgreens, and both people told me they were almost killed pulling out in front of somebody because they couldn't see. And I assume it's on city property that probably needs to be addressed. We all received an email. When I say we all, I mean all the commissioners received an email regarding people feeding the cats under Bailey Bridge. I called this gentleman because I think it's wonderful that we have people that want to take care of all the stray cats. I wonder how many raccoons are joining in on the feast. But his complaint was that the paper containers are being left behind, and that's all going to be washing out into the bay, and we need to address that somehow. And then I was very impressed on the police report to see that one officer actually talked to somebody down there that was feeding the cats, and I think they had kind of an understanding. I think there's a happy medium there, and there's probably a solution that we could come up with, to let them feed the cats and not, take care of everything else. I just had a text that we are not live streaming, so I just want to let you know that. My text just said it's not live streaming the meeting. It's on YouTube, okay. All right. And then 4th of July was great fun. 4th of July was great fun. This is the first time that the commission has ever gotten to ride all together. We normally just grab our golf carts and go out there. I asked the city manager, but I got to ask again because I've had more compliments from people, thought it was really funny that the commission float was a boxing ring. And I really do want to know who came up with that. I didn't know what that blue thing was. You wore yours, but I didn't even know what that was. So that was very interesting. And yes, Jamie and I, on our side of the float, threw out candy. I don't like seeing 7 kids fight over one Tootsie Pop. So they got handfuls. But that was a lot of fun. And I think that's about it for me. I just continue to be there for the residents, and will continue to help in that way. Thank you.
And thank you. Before the city manager report, just one additional comment. I want to say thank you to our fire department for their expedient response. I did get a chance to go by and speak to the family that house was on fire there on 7th Street. And so though he was a little upset about the fire, he was very grateful for the response time from our fire department. So I want to say thank you guys for your prompt response to stopping a situation that could have certainly gotten a lot worse than what it was. City manager?
Yes, before I go to my report and some other things, I'm going to take care of some things that I think are really, really important. Financial update with our Deputy Finance Director first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Ms. Kiki.
Questions for me?
I have no
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Employee of the Month Award. I ask that Joe Footen and Jason come before. Get that mic and then turn around.
I'd like to begin and say thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, for honoring our employees like we do. That's very important to the employees overall. Jason is here today because he is one of the hardest workers I have in my department. He has made Employee of the Month once before under my reign. I just can't do my job without him, so that's why he's here today. He's one of those top people that we count on in the city. So I just want to give him props for that and just say thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
Next, we have Department of the Quarter. We used to have supervisor of the quarter, but we recognize that the department is the one that helps the supervisor to become supervisor of the quarter. So we wanted to recognize the entire department. This quarter, the department is the building department. As you know, right after the storm, they had a lot of just overwhelming issues, concerns, processes. We've streamlined those processes a little bit, and they are doing a fantastic job. So I want to ask Stephanie to come up and bring staff with her.
Good morning. A huge thank you to these employees right here for their continuous hard work. The building department employees have been a key part of Lynn Haven's growth, averaging at about 500 permits per month. They're focused on helping the citizens of Lynn Haven rebuild their homes and businesses. I'm so proud of their continuous hard work, their admirable customer service, and their enthusiastic dedication to the citizens and the city. So thank you.
Thank y'all.
Next, I'm going to ask Chief John DeLange if he come up, and we're going to recognize the 2020 Firefighter Commendation Award. Chief DeLange will come up.
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager Gaynor. First of all, I'd like to thank you, but I also want to thank the American Legion. Typically, every year in April, they dedicate one night to the Firefighter and Police Officer of the Year. Unfortunately, with COVID and everything else that was going on, we were not able to do this. So this year, they presented the city with a plaque to provide the Firefighter of the Year and the Police Officer of the Year with a plaque. So at this time, I'd like to ask Craig Ingram to step forward. Craig has been employed with Lynn Haven Fire and Emergency Services for 2 years. He arrives early every day with a smile on his face for a positive attitude. With this time with the firefighter, Ingram has quickly learned the roles and responsibilities of a dependable and competent firefighter who consistently demonstrates a genuine commitment to his work. When it comes to completing daily duties and routine assignments, his work is accurate and thoroughly complete within the desired time frame. During the previous 2 years, firefighter Ingram has volunteered for every single activity that's outside of the realm. He's the first one to step up and say, I'll take that assignment. He's organized the kickball league that we're currently in, undefeated, I'd like to announce.
Oh, wow.
And we look forward to beating Ryan's team tonight. He's organized the Firefighter Challenge Combat for the first time. We placed 9th out of 25 teams, which is pretty impressive for somebody that doesn't have the equipment to practice like some of these teams do. It's a job for them. It's all they do is compete these circuits. He's ran half marathons in full bunker gear to raise money for COVID. And his all-around attitude is just great. It's superb. I'm honored to have him as part of my team. And at this time, Craig, I'd like to award you Firefighter of the Year from the American Legion.
And last and certainly not least is the 2020 Law Enforcement Commendation Award. I ask that Chief Ramey come and join us.
Good morning, Commission. Good morning, Mayor. This award that we give from the AMVETS is actually voted upon by their peers. So we basically put it out and see what the actual other officers, they nominate the person, then we make the award. This year, it's going to Corporal Michael Williams. Mike is in charge of our accreditation process. He's in charge of our training. Mike is also a critical incident counselor when we have a bad incident happen at the fire department or even in the police department or citywide. He also wears that cap as well. And one of the most prideful ones that I'm glad to announce, he's also our Christian counselor and one of our chaplains, and we send him to the Billy Graham Institute each year for the training and the certification. So Mike, I'd like you and your family to come up, and we'd like to award you the American Legion 2020 Law Enforcement Officer of the Year.
Congratulations to all of our employees. Congratulations for the wonderful job that they do and the work that they do. None of the jobs are easy. No job is easy, but they do them well. And so I want to say thank you again, staff, publicly, as I always try to thank you for the great job you do. Just a couple other things to talk about. A couple of these things have already been mentioned, so I won't mention them again, but we are working on a few events, Music by the Bay, that we're looking at doing, and maybe Movies in the Park is another event that we want to look at. Also, we have been dealing with, of course, making sure that the FEMA funding continues to move. And sometimes when it slows down and becomes stagnant, you have to call in any of your congressmen or legislative representatives, and we've done that. We met with Dr. Don's office last week, really to make sure that these projects are moving forward fairly quickly. We know that there's a process that they go through. Every city deals with this, not just Lynn Haven. It's just not Lynn Haven. But we do want to make sure that those projects are moved through, and they have to go through several processes, particularly where they probably get hung up the most is with the tribals. And I think we talked about this before. They have 45 days that they can look at a certain project or property before they move it on or have questions. That's kind of where we are with the new City Hall, old City Hall, PD chamber, as well as the gymnasium, as well as the ballparks. All of those are areas they're going to look at ground disturbance and see if there are any burial grounds or any historic value, and then go from there. We don't anticipate that there are, but they still have to go through the process regardless. And then we're kind of at their mercy. The money's there, it's been obligated, and it's just a matter of waiting for them. But we do meet along with a representative from Dr. Don's office every Friday just to get updates, to share concerns, and we've seen a lot of movement since we started those meetings again. Farmers Market, we're still working on that. If you know vendors that would like to be a part of the Farmers Market, please contact the communications department and ask them to, volunteer or be a part of the Farmers Market. We do have some vendors. We surely welcome others. That will begin July the 22nd. And the fire department did go and pick up the new ladder truck, and they're holding tight on it until everything is finished on it. And it'll be a great day when we can see the new ladder truck that's in. Lastly, thank everyone for the 4th of July celebration. It was absolutely a wonderful celebration. We haven't had that in almost 2 years, and so it was wonderful to be out both that morning and that night, although the rain caught us just a little bit at the end. I can tell you that families had a wonderful time. Commissioner Tender, in terms of the ring, actually, I didn't even catch that until you said that at the end. And one of the things that we looked at is like, you know what, they need something around it so none of them will fall out. And when we did that, it really made it look more like a boxing ring more than anything, and you're absolutely right. But it was a great day, so many great comments, and the unified force of our commission really did the city very well. As Commissioner Warwick has alluded to, we do have a strat plan, and we had a strat plan internally with our department heads as well as with the commission to make sure we're all on the same page and that we're doing the things and we hear their vision and we incorporate their vision, because as constituents of the commissioners want to make sure that we capture all of those things, and we have. And we did identify 5 cornerstones. And one of the things that I'm going to implement during my table talk is that we're going to be going over those 5 cornerstones so that residents will know what they are and what those 5 cornerstones actually are, and what goes under those. So next table talk, I think, is July 29th at 5:30. I invite you to be a part of that as well. And then lastly, the Lynn Haven citizens can attend the flood risk open house, where there will be people to look up their addresses and tell them if they're in a flood zone or not. This kind of came back after Hurricane Michael. Remember, FEMA came in and did some different flood maps. And so this will be helpful to you, and they'll be able to let you know if you're in your special flood area. It is Wednesday, July 21st, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the planning room at the Bay County Government Center, and that's on 11th Street. The flyer is on the website, and so I encourage you to residents to go out and find out if you're in the flood zone or not. That would be very helpful. And then my last thing is stormwater. We've been working on stormwater for now 2.5 years. The commission has afforded us the opportunity to put new equipment in place to give more employees to the stormwater department to work on some of those issues that probably had not been attended to in a while. And we are continually working on stormwater. It's not going to be fixed overnight because it didn't happen overnight. But we will continue to work on all of those issues, and I definitely feel like that once we have funding in place, we'll be able to do a lot more. So I just want to thank Public Works Department for working with us to get that vision and put it in place to tackle stormwater issues. And that is my report. Oh, lastly, just so before I close, of course, we have a check from Tetra Tech of $29,741 for their consulting for the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, City Manager. City Attorney.
Just one item I wanted to update you on. I know several meetings ago at the beginning of the year, we did approve that Publix easement, and that was sent down to Publix in Lakeland and went through the normal corporate red tape. Finally, about 2.5 weeks ago, it was in final form, and they wanted us to sign it. We did so, sent it down there. We're still waiting on the public signatures to come back, so just so everybody knows that, I don't know why it's taken so long. It's just dealing with a big corporation, I guess, but we've done everything we're supposed to do. We're waiting on the signatures to come in to get that easement recorded, and then Bobby and the guys can look at new prices and get to work on that pedestrian crosswalk. So that's all I have.
Mayor, if I could, would you mind addressing the sunshine law thing with the committees?
Yeah, I know there was a question that came up about the two new advisory committees that we formed, the charter review and the debt review committees. And just to be clear, and I'll plan on attending the charter review one, I think next week, to let them know. But the sunshine laws do apply to advisory committees. Sunshine law, obviously, as we all know, it's very broad in Florida. And so they'll be made, or they have been made aware, and they will be made aware that the sunshine laws do apply to those advisory committees. And so they'll be directed on that.
Do they have to do ethics training?
I don't think they have to do the ethics training. I don't think they
No.
fall into that category on the Form 1s, but.
No,
Right.
no. At their first meeting is where we will go over the sunshine rules. I think the two committees that have met have already done that, the infrastructure, Ryan shaking his head, yes, and then the DAC committee, and then the charter will meet on July the 20th, and we will go over those as well.
Thank you. This time we have
I'm sorry, Mayor, can I just ask one more question to the attorney? So, am I correct in saying that those committees are open to the public, right?
Yes, yeah, those would be public
absolutely.
meetings, and, they.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in the sense of the sunshine law, those people on the committee, those 5 people, are not supposed to discuss it outside of that meeting,
Right, they're not supposed to.
correct?
Like, if you're the charter committee, don't discuss your charter recommendations and changes. I mean, they can,
But
like
yet-
any of you guys, you can still talk to each other, just not about city business. It'd be the
Okay.
same thing with them.
But yet, we're allowed to go to those meetings?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be open to the public, and including any of you that want to go sit in and observe, whatever.
And are those dates on the website?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
I know the debt review committee, I've had a chance to attend both of those sessions, and we have had some citizens from the public to come and be a part of it. And the chairperson does allow questions at the end from the public, or he has allowed questions, at the end from myself or from the public as it relates to the debt review. All right, this time we move on to our consent agenda. We only have one item on our consent agenda today, which is our minutes from 6/22/21, the regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second. All right, we have a motion, a second. City Manager, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Motion passed. This time we'll move on to our old business. Final reading, public hearing, ordinance number 1114, a request for a small-scale future land use amendment for parcel numbers 09680, 000, 000, 09679, 000, 000, and 09678, 000, 000, 3 city lots. City Manager Gaynor, would you please read ordinance 1114 by title only?
An ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163, Florida statutes of a land use change from mixed use and low-density residential to public institutional for the parcels totaling an approximate 1.376 plus acres located on the corner of Pennsylvania Avenue, West 9th Street in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Thank you, City Manager. This is the second and final reading. City Planner, will you now take your time to explain and answer any questions for us?
Yes, thank you. This is a application for a small-scale future land use map amendment. The owner is the City of Lynn Haven, applicant City of Lynn Haven. The parcel numbers, as you read out earlier, 09680-000-000, 09679-000-000, and 09678 0000000. The address, there's 3 parcels, so the addresses are 905, 909, and 915 Pennsylvania Avenue. We're actually in one of those, we're on one of those addresses right now in this building. The combined parcel size is 1.376 acres. The existing future land use map categories are mixed use for 2 of the parcels and low-density residential for the 3rd parcel. The requested future land use category is public institutional. These 3 parcels, as we mentioned, are all owned by the city. The city is the applicant, and what the city is asking to do is to have these parcels the same as the other city parcels. So the adjacent future land use map designations to the north is public institutional, to the south low density residential, on the east is low density residential, and then the west across the street is public institutional and recreation open space. You can see the three parcels in red. Ooh, done something. You can see the three parcels here in red. And this is what the land use currently looks like. The two purple, the purple and white ones are the mixed use, and then the one on the south is a low density residential. And you can see how to the north and also to the west is the blue, the public institutional. If you agree to change the land use on these parcels, it will make these three parcels public institutional, so they will also be blue, so they will be consistent with the surrounding area. Thank you.
I make a motion, we approve.
Second. Turn them blue.
Any discussion from the commission? No. Any from the public? All right. City Manager, please call the vote.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you. This time we'll have discussion and possible approval of work session times for the commission. Commissioner Ward.
Yes, I know we talked about this at the last commission meeting. I think you guys know I'm passionate about this. I think it's necessary for us in order to have effective communication between us, because it's, I hate continuing to bring this up, but it's difficult with the Sunshine Law. It just is. And I think having a pre-meeting, there are certain things we can have good discussions on. And I think it'd be good for information gathering and, you know, communication flow. So I talked to the city manager about it. We came up with a viable option was to have the commissioner meeting on the Thursday prior to the commission meeting at 3:30 p.m. So I would like to make a motion to have a pre-commission meeting Thursday, 3:30 p.m., where we just go over the agenda items in preparation for the regular commission meeting.
Mayor, if I may, can I?
It needs a second before we can discuss.
I make a motion for
My
discussion.
made a motion. There's a second. You
Second.
Any discussion from the commission?
Yes. I like the idea of the pre-meeting, but I have to ask this question. If we have a pre-meeting on Thursday before the meeting, we won't be able to discuss any of the agenda because it's not usually out on Thursday.
And I already discussed that with the city manager, and she doesn't have a problem having it ready by that time. Right.
Yes, but I did with the caveat, this probably will be a draft agenda.
Right.
Because there may be some things that will come in on Friday that, you know, maybe a first reading or something of that nature. But usually by 3:30, we do have agenda in place, but there are some things that won't be finalized until that Friday morning.
Okay. Well, I personally like the idea in the sense that we're all talkers, and I think we need to discuss things a little bit more. We need to discuss them a little bit more, and the public's invited, so I was afraid that the public would think we were trying to hide things by meeting beforehand, but since it's open to the public, I think it might benefit us to really have some dialogue that we don't feel we can have during a regular commission meeting because of time constraints.
I don't know, are we talking about every single commission meeting? I know last time we discussed it's going to be depending on the agenda items. So in other words, like today, for example, it's pretty straightforward. Everything we have on our agenda is straightforward. I don't really see a point in meeting on a Thursday for an agenda like this, for example. That being said, if we had something like the building of the new sports park complex, right? Yes, that's a big subject, and I think that would need a workshop and discussion. you know, another concern just in the back of my mind is that if we have this meeting, there's going to be people that are just trying to read the vote, whether it's going to be a yes or no vote, and whether it goes their way or not, and then let me send this person 48 emails, you know, because I think I know how they're going to vote. If that makes sense to you.
Oh, you mean if they see that we're disagreeing in the boxing ring, they're going to start
exactly.
emailing you?
I want to avoid a
Yeah.
boxing ring. Is my point that I'm getting at. You know, and I just have mixed feelings about it. I guess. You know,
It does give the public a chance to address.
Oh,
if
yeah, and
they,
I don't have a problem with
if
that.
they do
I don't have a problem
disagree
with that at
or
all.
whatever.
Mhm.
Now, like you said, like today, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You said like today's meeting, we're about to discuss proposed village rate and budget. That's something I would enjoy actually having communication about and discussing it and all of that, so that we're not just put right here to say yes or no, but that's my.
Mr. Ward? So as far as, you know, if we have a really light agenda, I would say we would put that to the chairman, which would be the mayor. And, you know, if there's only like 2-3 things on there, they're just a formal process type thing, it would be up to his discretion to say, you know what, call off the pre-meeting. I think that's easy. But I mean, how many times do we sit in here and we discuss stuff? And I do research before I come in here, and I look at everything. But even after we come in here and you hear certain things, some more questions come to your mind. And I just hate, and this is just me, but I don't like making a decision right then and there, especially when things that impact the residents. I'd rather have discussion, make sure I have all the information so I can make an informed decision. And I know a lot of this stuff, like you're talking about, is just a formal process. We already know, yep, got it, press on. But then there's some things I think require discussion, because I think we do have a lot of differences, and the only way to overcome that is have a forum to have discussion.
Commissioner Work, I know previously when we discussed this here as well as at the Strat meeting, you stated that there would, I guess, be no public commentary.
Correct. And I believe that, because I've talked to some of the other cities that do that. Lake Wales, I don't know if anybody, you know, went on there and looked how they conduct theirs. And because it's not a commission meeting, it's just us going over the agenda items, make sure we got all the information. And that's the way they do it, and that's the way some of the other cities do it that do it this way. And it's not to shut the public down or anything like that. It's so that we can prevent having 2 commission meetings. Because if you have public commentary, it's going to turn into 2 commission meetings, 2 long meetings, and I want to prevent that from happening. It's not that I don't value the public's comments, I do, but that also gives us opportunity to speak with some people that have come from the comments, like you were talking about emails and that. Well, that's a great way for us to communicate with them. Maybe they got some ideas that we didn't think about, and it gives us some time, again, to make an informed decision and get feedback and do our research.
With this not being something that's, I guess, in the charter itself, is it possible that we could do this via Zoom?
Yeah, I mean, it would obviously just be a commission workshop. There'd be no voting. You know, obviously, I know under the under the laws to have a meeting, you have to have a quorum physically present in the room. I know some of that got suspended during COVID, but that's all over. So you'd still want a quorum present in the room on any meeting, even if it's just a workshop. It's still there's nothing to prevent you guys from at that meeting actually voting on something, even if you say it's a workshop. Obviously, if you do, you'd have to ask for public comment. But there's I just wanted to be clear. The best practice is keep to your rules, have it a workshop only, have no public participation. But if something came up sort of on an emergency basis, you technically and legally could vote on it as long as you allowed public input. So I would still want a quorum physically present in the room. Obviously, if a couple of you have to attend by Zoom, you know, so be it. But I would still try to shoot for regular commission workshop, everybody present that can be, don't vote, no public participation. You guys can hash out the issues. And like I said, if there's a super light agenda, then we can look at it and send an email out saying it's been canceled because there's only 2 planned agenda items. So I mean, I think it could work, but I would not recommend going for a virtual type of meeting.
Well, Go ahead, Mayor, I'm sorry.
I guess my other question is, for example, like this past week, if we were to have met at Thursday at 3:30, then we get something from city attorney on Friday, then we wouldn't be able to discuss that during the pre-meeting. So that would be one of my concerns is we could possibly meet Friday morning after we basically have more surety that city manager and staff have really put together a good draft agenda, and hopefully all of the items that they're looking for have come in at that time, versus if we meet Thursday at 3:30, something else comes in on Friday that's of significance, then we still can't meet to talk about, or we won't be able to discuss it until commission meeting.
And Mayor, you know, the more I hear us talking, the more it seems like, I mean, we have workshops now, really, if we need one. You know what I mean? If there's really a serious subject on there, we'll have a workshop about it. We can call for a workshop. You know, Commissioner Ward could call for a workshop any time he wants to. So I'm not quite sure where the vote is needed necessarily either.
Have you watched the Lake Wales pre-commission meeting?
No.
No.
Well, it's only what, one of 3 in the state. Why do you think only 3 in the state?
Well, there's probably more of them out there. I've found 5.
5.
And I'm sure there's more out there. But there's something else I said. Oh, and remember, I said this before, talking with the city manager from Lake Wales, that he goes, don't be surprised you're going to hit some bumps in the road because this is a cultural change. And he's right. This is a cultural change if we do this. And so there may be some things we're going to have to fine tune and do a little bit differently than we expected at first. But once we get into a routine, this will be seamless. And so we need a way to communicate. This is the main reason why I want to do this. Because if we don't, then here we are having discussion about it. Now it's going on 10:10, and by the time we leave here, who knows, it might be 11 o'clock, and ends up being what? Don't do math in public, right? 2-hour meeting. You know what I'm saying? And this would be a perfect example of why a pre-commission meeting would be perfect for something like this.
Now, with the pre-commission meeting, would we limit that to just discussing the agenda itself? Because I think probably more important, since we're referencing this as it relates to sunshine laws, probably more important than a pre-commission meeting is just having talk sessions among us as commissioners, because there are issues that we need to discuss as it relates to policy and codes that may not be on the agenda that we may not discuss. And so I think more important than having the pre-workshop, if we could find a time like we did with the strategic planning session, I think that was very beneficial for us. Not that we have to do it all day, but having a time where we can sit down and just talk about, hey, these are the issues that Commissioner Tender is receiving. These are the issues Commissioner Perno is receiving, and these are the complaints that we're getting. And so how can what ordinances and policies do we as the commission need to be looking at to address those things? Because right now, as I've been seeing it, we're really just addressing the issues that are being brought up by city manager and maybe some of the department heads, which is okay. But then we're being more reactionary versus being proactive in shaping policy and saying what are some things that are antiquated that we need to update for today that we just haven't had a chance to talk about. So I don't want us to have a pre-commission workshop and limit ourselves to only being able to discuss items on the agenda, because what I'm sort of hearing is that we just need time to talk and discuss so that we can do it publicly and so that we can get more common ground as in regards to our objectives of what we're trying to accomplish for the city.
I don't think there's any problem with us discussing the things that you'd like to discuss too, but the pre-commission meeting to me, and we can have an all-day seminar on looking at things that are antiquated, and that's why we're addressing the charter and whatnot. But I think these items for the commission meeting, we get the agenda on Friday. We have the weekend to go out and look at the places that are involved in different issues and things like that. But I would give my right arm most of the time to be able to speak with another commissioner and discuss it. Not discuss how I'm going to vote, but to discuss what does it mean. I mean, let's talk about what are your insights to this, and how do you, how do you see this affecting everybody? And I think by allowing the public to email call us, whatever, after a pre-meeting, because that gives them 4 days, even if we did it on Friday morning. I don't know if 3:30 on Thursday is any better than 8:30 on Friday morning as far as the city manager goes in having everything ready, but I think it gives the public 3 days to contact us, however they'd like to contact us regarding whatever's discussed. And I think it's done in an informal way. Anyway, that's how I feel about it.
Well, I had a point based on what you said, and I thought about it. The public has just as much time now to talk to us. They get the agenda is public. It's public knowledge when it comes out. But I was thinking along the lines of what you had just said, Mayor, and I mentioned it in a meeting with the city manager, is that we get the packet, we can read it, and we can be ready for the meeting, and we're supposed to discuss it at the meeting more or less the way it's set up now. But to get input from to not have input from the public is one thing in the pre-meeting. What you're saying, it's culture change. I get it, but I thought more about it, and to come to the meeting and present agenda items on behalf of the public, I thought it would be great to have maybe a quarterly or bi-monthly town hall where we all just come here, and then we could discuss agenda items in the past, or we can solicit the public to speak, so we can get further into what we possibly could talk about in the future and set up better agendas based on these town hall meetings. So I thought it'd be a chance that my thought on the whole thing was, wow, what if we just tweak this to maybe a town hall format quarterly, and we all talk to everybody that has issues, and then we could form better agenda items based on public input. So that was my thought on it as a twist, because I think, I've only known the system we have, and we get the agenda on Friday. We're supposed to verse ourselves on it and then expose ourselves. The whole sunshine law is that we talk about it in the meeting. Do we need to talk about it at 2 meetings? I don't know. You know what I mean? So, because I'm okay talking about it at the meeting. I know it takes more time, and sometimes I'd like to talk about it more. But are we exposing our cards then? And then as far as how we feel and what the way we're going to vote, I don't know. But I thought a town hall would be the way to go, and then it could set you up for future train of thought. We could get in tune with the public on, not that we don't already, but we probably could get some good ideas. So that was my take on the whole thing. So.
And I just have to say this one more time. To have a discussion and talk about things and ask questions of each other only helps us as commission.
Sure.
To educate ourselves and to be more in line. It's not about tipping our card or whether you think I'm going to vote no
you get
or
to
yes
talking
or
about
whatever.
agenda items 3 or 4 days before. I'm a pretty passionate speaker. You're going to know how I feel about stuff. You know what I mean?
And what's wrong with that? I like
Nothing,
knowing what you think.
But then you'll have somebody trying to email you on your opinion when. It's okay. I mean, I'm okay either way. But
You mean you think they're going to try to change your opinion? If you feel passionate about it, you won't change.
You're darn right. You're going to get emails the other way.
Right.
But it's you put it out there in the meeting, or you put it out there 3 days before the meeting, and you still have the impact. You know what I mean? So, is it something we need to do?
I'm kind of on the fence with you, Pat, on that.
I mean, we do it at the meeting. Why not?
And the public.
Why do we have to do it 3 or 4 days before?
Right. And the public, I mean, I understand the ideas. I do like the town hall idea. I think that's really neat. But the public does come up to us. I know it does to all of us, whether we're in the grocery store, whether we're at Beef O'Brady's. They'll come up and they'll say, hey, you know what? I think we should do this. Or, well, why aren't y'all doing this? Because it's part of our job. We're a commissioner even when we leave here. And everybody recognizes that. So, I don't know. That's a double negative. I understand where you're coming from, I guess, is what I'm, with the workshops. I'm not short-sighted in that. I just want to make sure that we're not being redundant and that we're being efficient in what we're doing. And I'm just having a hard time swallowing that pill, but that's just me.
So what if, could we possibly do it for 2 months and see how we like it? Rather than just saying, no, we're not going to even try that. What if we tried it for a couple months?
Wow.
Is it a matter for anybody not being able to make it here on Friday morning? Would you rather have it on a Friday morning than Thursday?
Friday mornings would be really great. Then you would have all of the information.
Then we would have
But
the
you
agenda.
may not have, if you do it on Thursday, and I did tell Commissioner Ward this, yes, we could get as much as possible together, but by Friday morning, it's a cutoff, and then the agenda is probably pretty much fixed. Yeah.
I'm good with Friday morning in a temporary basis to see how it goes.
I mean, I know I said this already, but we're going to hit bumps in the road on this, guaranteed. And we're going to have to, but it's not a bad thing because we can tailor this to how we want.
Are you
We
good
can go
with
and say,
Friday
you know what,
morning?
maybe we should do it this way, or
Are you
maybe.
good with Friday morning? You want to do it, let's do it Friday morning.
Is there amendment to change?
I mean,
the
if you
motion?
want to do it, you're passionate about doing it, what time does it matter? What day does it matter?
Well, that's why I discussed it with the city manager to see what a good day was, and that's the day
Well-
and time we came up with. And
And as I said, it doesn't matter to me, but I'm just telling you that 3:30
so is that
is
the only
great.
thing, the only issue you have is the day and time of the meeting?
Seems like it's the only issue with you. Is it Friday? I'm more than willing to try it Friday morning.
No. I mean, you guys actually have brought up points against it. That's why I'm asking you. Is that the only issue you have? is the day
Commissioner
and time
Tinner
of the
said,
meeting?
let's try it for a trial basis. I'm okay with that, Friday morning.
Is there an amendment to change the motion?
Sure.
Well, I made the motion, so.
Oh, yeah, you made the motion. Go for it.
So what time in the morning we're looking at doing this?
6
9
o'clock.
6 o'clock?
Just a little joke.
Well, I mean, what you guys were wanting to do in the morning. What time were you guys thinking?
8 o'clock?
8:30, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go with Friday before the Tuesday meeting, 8 in the morning.
Sure.
I'll amend my motion.
For a trial period of time of how long?
Well, the only thing that worries me about the trial period is if we do it for 2 months, and yes, we're going to hit bumps in the road. I don't want that as an excuse of not to do this. You know what I'm saying?
And I think you can start it, and then after 2 months, somebody can make a motion to discontinue them.
Correct.
If it's not working.
And then I want to make sure again that we're not meeting.
That's 4 sessions.
We're not meeting on Friday morning to talk about something that doesn't really.
Well,
need to
and
be
here's
talked
another
about.
benefit to this I just thought of as we're discussing this is, I think Fridays is when the seniors get together, don't they? So it's a good time for us to interact with them. That's another benefit to it. I'm not saying that's why we should do it, but just.
Are we going to
something.
be, are we going to be taking the senior center from them?
If you meet at 8 o'clock, seniors come in at 9.
But we'll be in, always saying they do have like a briefing or something in here sometimes, don't they?
Yeah.
We could meet in City Hall at the table.
Yeah, if it's informal,
that.
and the public.
Sure can.
And the public can still come in? Okay.
I like
So-
that idea. So did you amend?
Yeah, I made a motion, 8 o'clock in the morning on Fridays before the Tuesday commission meeting.
I second
Or-
that.
All right, the motion has been amended and seconded. Any discussion from the public?
That was a lot, so I'll try to make it quick with my 3 minutes. So I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but Collloquy. I think it's like colloquy. Maybe somebody more educated than I knows that word. But it's formal. It's a conversation. It's gathering for
Colloquia.
discussion of questions, right? So that's what y'all are trying to do, is you're trying to commission to come together and have a colloquy and discuss stuff. You guys all brought up great points. I think in regard to public discussion, this is your guys' meeting to talk about stuff. I loved what you said, Commissioner Aldridge, about it doesn't have to just be the agenda. It could be other things. There's a bridge, though, between no discussion with the public and all the discussion with the public, and I think this is that bridge that I'm going to present to you, which is, Chair, this is your meeting, so if a commissioner hits an item that they'd love to hear the public discussion on, they could say, Chair, I'd like to introduce an idea of getting public commentary on this, and as the chair, it's your meeting. You could either decline that or you could accept that, and for certain hot issues, you could get those input things. Another thing is, recently having an item on the agenda myself, you know, I had to submit just 2 pages. That's all I was allowed, was 2 pages to get everything for that block party I'm throwing in there. That was a lot of information to jam onto 2 little pages. It would have been nice that if I came to that call queue, or whatever you guys want to call it, and if you guys had questions, you could say, hey, could you step up and answer these questions? We wouldn't have had to have done that at the meeting. I think this concept is great because it's going to allow you all to discuss, and I'm hoping that it's going to see the meetings be a lot shorter when they actually hit there. And I think you brought up another great point, is that, you know, if the agenda doesn't have a lot of stuff on it, you could call it off. I mean, I'm not going to be opposed to that. I'm sure some people will, but if it's not a lengthy agenda or any hot topics on it, call it off. Don't spend your time here. Don't have any of us spending our time here. So thank you, Commissioner Warwick, for bringing this up. I think it'd be beneficial to you all, and I appreciate the motion, the second, and I hope we'll at least get to try it out. If we do, I'll see you guys Friday at 8, was it 8 o'clock? Mm-hmm. I'll see you guys on a Friday at 8 o'clock.
Additional comments? The motion is to have a pre-meeting commission discussion on Friday mornings prior to the Tuesday meeting at 8 a.m.
Next door.
And that will be in City Hall, or the administrative building for City Hall. Additional comments?
Can I say something, Mayor? I just want to respond to something that Mr. Scray said about, you know, if we have something on the agenda, I understand he brought up about his event and that, but if it's someone that's running that, you know, I can understand bringing someone up saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, you know, but I wouldn't necessarily open up the public commentary. But the question I also have, is this something that will be online and recorded so people could see it? Or would it just be us in the room?
It's open to the public, so
it would be on YouTube and Facebook and all that?
We could talk with the city manager about the setup for the tech.
Let me see, because it's
Okay.
it's a conversation
room.
between you guys, and so it will take a lot of effort to pull all of that audio equipment over to City Hall and pull it together. We can put it up later, but in terms of live
Right.
screen, yes, we could do that.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay,
That's fine.
all right, good.
Right, yeah. But it would be a public meeting. You'd still have to take minutes, obviously, in a workshop type of setting. It could be, you know, discussion of blah, 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 you know, because there's no action taken, so it doesn't have to be verbatim minutes. I know that's, but that they will need to be taken and then approved
Yes,
at our next meeting.
yes,
So.
we do that.
Somebody needs to make donuts.
All right, city manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrich.
In the name of trying to come together and work together, I'm going to say yes, and let's try it for a bit and see.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. All right, motion passed. This time we move on to our new business. Discussion and possible approval to set the proposed millage rate and budget hearing dates for the purposes of submission of the certificate of taxable value to the Property Appraiser's Office pursuant to the TRIM Act. Deputy Finance Director.
Hello. So I brought for you today the calendar of events required for the budget process. Today, approving the 2 dates, September 15th, which is a Wednesday, we would start the public workshop at 3:30 in the afternoon, which gives you 2 hours to question on the budget. The regular meeting starting at 5:30. And then the final budget workshop on the 28th, which is a Tuesday, your normal day, starting at 5, gives you another half an hour before the regular commission meeting at 5:30 to question further. We're discussing a 4.1 millage for next year, which of course is a reduction. I'm thrilled to death to bring that to you, going back from 4.3 to 4.1. A wonderful thing indeed.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
You have questions?
What was that second date you said? I know we have it.
The 28th.
Thank you.
That was a question I had, is that's the day we have our commission meeting, so is that normal to have it? It's with the commission meeting, basically? Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you. It does require a vote.
All right.
Does it require a vote, a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any additional discussion?
I'll be here.
All right.
Thank
Any
you.
discussion from the public? If not, City Manager, please call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Mayor Nessel.
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you. This time we have our quasi-judicial public hearing. Item number 12, discussion and possible approval of a final plat for Parkview Townhomes Phase 2. City Attorney.
Right, and since this is a quasi-judicial hearing, anybody planning on testifying today, if you'll raise your right hand, including anybody in the audience who is going to talk about this item. I mean, if you'll swear or affirm that testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay. And obviously, if there's been any ex parte communications with any commissioners regarding this item, you can disclose those now.
I've had none.
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 I've had none.
This is an application for final plat approval for Parkview Townhomes Phase 2. Before I begin, you'll recall that you recently approved the replat for Parkview Townhomes Phase 1 so that Phase 2 could link in. They could join together and have the one road that goes all the way through both of them. The owner is James Finch and Associates, Inc. The applicant is James Finch. The agent is Ted Shoppy and also Brad Harris. Ted is actually here this morning, so if you had any specific questions on the plat or the development, he could answer those. The parcel number is 11592-000-000. The location is 17th Street, across from Kane Griffin Park, next to Parkview Townhomes Phase 1. The parcel size is 5 acres, and the land use is medium density residential, which allows for between 4 and 10 dwelling units per acre. The number of homes on this development are 50 townhomes, so that's the 10 dwelling units per acre, so it meets the requirements. The preliminary plat for this development was approved by the City Commission on June the 9th, 2020, as was the development order. That was also approved June 9th, 2020. The final plat comes to you because it confirms the installation and placement of the infrastructure. So you approve the preliminary plat and the development order, they go out, put all the infrastructure in, and then inspections are made to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. Following that, you can approve the final plat, and once the final plat is approved and recorded, the owner can then sell individual lots. He can't sell lots until you approve the final plat and it gets recorded. And the final plat must be recorded within 30 days. This aerial shows you the location. In red, it shows the conditions prior to them putting the installation in. This is an older aerial. The old house is still on there. To the west, you can see the existing Parkview Townhomes Phase 1, and that stormwater pond that's in the middle, that has been enlarged. They share one stormwater pond, and the road comes from 17th Street through Parkview Townhomes Phase 1, and then goes down through, it's basically a duplicate of this for Parkview Townhomes Phase 2 on the opposite side of the pond. And this is the plat. You had a copy of this in your packet, and we have the final plat here.
Right, you know, the final Mylar's here, so if this is approved, obviously don't leave until you come up here and get it signed so they can get it recorded.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No. I make a motion, we approve.
I'll second it.
All right, motion second. Any discussion from the public? No discussion from the public. City Manager, would you call the vote?
I just wanted to ask one question. Is this the stuff that we changed the land use or the from cul-de-sacs to hammerheads?
This was actually, I think it was phase 1 was when we looked at the hammerheads,
Right.
because hammerheads had not been allowed.
Right.
Yeah.
And now the hammerheads are going to become the connecting road, right?
Right.
So what is?
They won't need it, will they?
No, because it is connecting all the way
Right.
through. And we actually, this is good, because at that time with Parkview Townhomes, phase 1, it was Parkview Townhomes. We didn't know at that point there was going to be a phase 2. But there is actually a recommendation in the Unified Land Development Code that developers, if they're adjacent to a vacant piece of land, that they do a stub out so that in the future, if there is development, you can have interconnectivity.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion? City Manager, you call the vote.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Pardo?
Yes.
Mayor Nessel?
Yes. This time we have discussion and possible approval of the rejection of bids for legislative paving phase 2. Mr. Bobby Baker, Public Works Director.
Morning. Yes, we just recently went out for bids for the legislative paving project. If you recall, this one is a 50-50 participation with us and FDOT. We did have 5 companies bid. All the prices came in extremely high. So what we're asking, and we spoke with DOT and they said, this is not uncommon to rebid these things because they're going through a lot of them. So what we're wanting to do was meet with the engineers, reduce the scope that we originally sent out, value engineer some of the roadways. So the intent is to get as many roadways paved as we can with what money we have. So what we're asking is for the commission to reject these bids. That way we can meet with the engineer tomorrow. We've already got a meeting scheduled where we can reduce the scope, like I said, and look at each individual roadway, value engineer it, and see if we can get as much roadway paved as we can. So. And then we rebid it. DOT does want us to do this within the next 60 days. So.
All right, any questions for Mr. Baker?
Go ahead.
Well, the question I have is, how do you come up with, how do you calculate that the bid is too high? Is it by like mile or?
Yes, yeah. We were based on last year's numbers. You remember, we did the same project 1 year ago, and the prices have just about doubled on them, if not more. But some of the road design is a little different. So
right.
That's what we want to do, is go back and look at some of the designs.
And I understand there's a lot of variables in place there, but if I understand you correctly, this is recommendation by the FDOT that these bids are too high?
Say that again?
FDOT, is that their recommendation that the bids are too high?
Yeah, they agree with it.
They agree with
it. Because they're seeing it on all these projects that they've got, that they're having to go back and value engineer it, just because the cost is so high right now.
I just want to make sure we do our due diligence and we got justification in case someone comes back and says we're being unfair or something like that.
Right. No, we're trying to get the most we can out of what money we have available.
And also, we have to stay within budget
Yes.
of what we have. In any of our cities, RPs or contracts, there is a clause in there, the city may reject any bids at any time. So that is always in our RFPs and RFQs.
So our ultimate goal is to still do the paving, but try to get as much done as we can.
Right. Appreciate it.
I had a
And
question.
I was going to echo what the city manager just said. You can always have the right to reject all bids, especially when they come in over budget. I would say, if there's a motion to reject all bids, I would couple that with authorizing the city to go back out to rebid within 60 days, as Bobby stated.
I guess my concern was, let's say we're rejecting bids, and it always seems to be with the same contractor or something, and then they later come down and say, well, you're only rejecting them because of this one contract. I just want to make sure that we're covered as a city, that we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing.
I mean, we had five different companies come in
Right.
from all over the
We had
place.
five
That's-
bids.
That's not the case.
What were the bids, high to low? Do you know?
I have those if
I
you want
think
me
it's-
to. They were 2.7 was the lowest, all the way up to 5.1.
And what did we pay last year?
Well, we have $2 million to work with, less the engineering and the CEI. So really, we've got about 1.7 to work with. So we're about $1 million away.
So we have 1.7 million to actually do the road work.
Right.
But we have how much altogether? How much is the engineer making?
Well, the total was $2 million for everything. So you have engineering, CEI services, which is a third-party inspector we're required to have. So.
And would we be compromising the quality of work?
Well, that's what we got to look at. No, we shouldn't be able to. There is a couple portions of road that we need to take out because they fell within another grant. We just found out, so we can eliminate some of those.
Okay.
And then each road we'll look at and see if there's a way to reduce, without compromising the road, change the scope of it.
So if we rebid, are we going to let them know? Well, they'll know if they're watching this meeting what our budget is.
We'll
Right.
send them a letter of rejection.
Yes, it'll be
I'd like to make a
rebid.
There'll be a new RFP will go out
Yes.
with a revised scope, revised specs, whatever the changes
Yeah.
are made. It'll go all
And
back out.
DOT's just said, just show us all your changes, and we got to submit it to them first and make sure they're happy with it, and then we can bid it.
Commissioner Perno.
I'd like to make a motion that we reject all bids and rebid within 60 days.
Second.
All right, motion second. Any discussion from the public?
Somebody raising his hand back there.
Ted Shoppy with Phoenix Construction. We're the apparent low bidder. As part of this bid process, we had to fill out a bid form that had 20 pages of unit prices and extensive unit prices, and we were told that that was due to the city wanting to possibly reduce the scope in case the numbers did come in out of budget and over what the city had, so the scope could get reduced down to fit the city's budget. And I'm not understanding why we're not doing that now and we're just going to throw everything out. I don't think you're going to get the work any cheaper than you are right now.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the public? City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Motion passed. Item number 14, first reading by title only, ordinance number 1115, City of Lynn Haven Special Events Ordinance, providing for the regulation of special events in the city of Lynn Haven. Any comments on this, City Attorney?
Yeah, I can just kind of briefly summarize it, and then the city manager can read the title and we can get it advertised. This creates a new article of Chapter 42 in our code regulating special events. As I tried to highlight, this is going to apply to events at any facility where you're over capacity, over parking capacity, or require some sort of special services from the city. So if you have a venue and you're meeting your required capacities and your parking, you don't have to come and get a special permit. So again, this is truly a special event that's going to be over capacity. There's a process in here to come and obtain a permit. There's different levels, small, medium, and large, with time frames on getting your application in and getting your permit approved. And it does allow leeway from the city manager or staff Obviously, somebody might expect a super large crowd, and if it doesn't come in, it can be scaled back or scaled up, and it does address sort of like a pop-up event that we can send staff out there and require a permit. And again, it's going to depend on the size of the event as far as what, and where it is, as far as what insurance would be required, what services would be required. There'd be basically a pre-meeting to go over that sort of stuff and say, look, we're going to need 2 police officers or this many services, and they can come up with a budget and present it to them. So I think it covers everything that we've been discussing and leaves some discretion and leeway with City Hall to work with anybody who wants to do an event, whether it be on private property or public property.
No, I didn't read that this includes anything on private property. I thought it was only on city property.
No, so if you have
So if I were to have a party, not at my house because the property's too small, but if I had a lot somewhere and I owned that, you mean I would have to have a city permit? Oh.
If you are going to exceed parking requirements or capacity, like this building might fit 300 people and say it's private. If you're going to have 1,000 people here, you'll have to come get a permit.
Oh, no, I understand that. I just thought it was city property only. I didn't realize it included private property.
And city property is addressed separately in here as far as if you're going to do something on the street or on a city facility. But yes, if you've got an overcapacity event planned, you would come get a permit, whether it's public or private.
Does this also include the new preserve? Does this include the new preserve? Property, city property?
City park, so I mean, if somebody wanted, and I'm
sorry.
Yes.
I mean, it would include if you wanted to do something at a city park,
Okay.
it would. Now, I don't know what the capacity is out there, but it's pretty large.
But I mean, it does include that piece of property. I did not realize it included private property.
Right, but again, the 3 categories are you exceed your venue capacity, which any sort of commercial property is going to have their little fire department sticker of what your capacity is, or you're going to wind up generating 1,000 cars showing up and there's only 10 spots. So if you have your normal meeting and you meet at a certain club and you're meeting your capacities, you don't have to come and get any special permission. It's truly.
Oh, so we're not requiring a permit if it's on private property.
And you're within your building capacity and your parking capacity.
Right.
So only if you expect some sort of large crowd or large number of cars, or you need the city to come in there and help you run your event, that's the only time you're going to have to come get a permit.
Say, for instance, a great example is if you're doing a wedding at your house, and there's people everywhere, and it maybe started out as there was only going to be 50 people, and it winds up being 300 people. Then normally residents are going to call the city, and we don't have any authority to really try to disgage any of that because there is no permit in place. So the permits just help our residents as well as to help to control the event in case something happened. And if we see that event is large enough that it needs police out in there to guide parking or some other type of service, then we can do that. We can sit down and talk to those residents then about the event instead of waiting to where it is totally blown up and then we have no control over it.
It's basically preventing Woodstock in Lynn Haven.
Like what happened at King Griffin a couple of weeks ago, or whenever that was, where we had like 1,000 people show up.
Yeah,
we didn't know anything about that, correct?
Right. I mean, now if it's hosted by the city, obviously it's exempt. But if somebody privately wants to come and use, and go through whatever process, I know we have rental fees. This doesn't affect any of that. So if you come and get permission to use a city park or building, that's not going to change unless you go over the capacity and again need more parking, extra garbage protection. I mean, that's what it applies to.
City Manager Gaines, if you would read the ordinance by title only.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
If you read the ordinance by title,
Yes,
because we
sir.
still haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Yes. An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, regulating special events in the City of Lynn Haven, creating Article 3 special events of Chapter 42 of the city's Code of Ordinances, creating definitions, requiring permits, providing for suspension of permits, regulating events on city property, regulating spontaneous unpermitted events, providing for application and permit fees, providing for appeal, providing for enforcement and penalties, repealing provisions of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for codification and reciting an effective date.
I know Commissioner Ward.
I read over this and I actually compared it to other cities in Bay County, and it's pretty conducive to what's written here. In fact, it's probably written by the same law firm, but the rates and that even seem to be pretty close to the same. So I make a motion to approve.
Yeah, and this is first reading. It doesn't require a vote.
Oh, it doesn't?
So it needs to be read, and we'll advertise it, and we'll come back. And
I'll just leave it at that.
Yep.
All right, any discussion from the public?
I only have really one little, I guess, quip or anything really. Where is it? So for section 4263 with the permit, it says no person or entity shall organize, stage, yada, yada. The problem I have is with the word organize being in there. The definition of organize is to make arrangements or preparations for. I couldn't possibly have presented you the information and answered the questions you guys had in regard to the event that I'm doing without having had organized it up front. So I think that word needs to be altered in some way, or something needs to be done there, because you can't, if in order to get a permit, I need to know what the event's gonna be, which means I need to organize part of the event, even if it's only on paper, like getting quotes and making preparations. So if it's illegal by this ordinance for me to organize the event before I get the permit, and I come in to get a permit and you ask questions, I can't organize my event until I have the permit, so I need the permit so I can organize it. So you got a little bit of a conundrum there.
No,
I think we need to address that.
I think what it's referring to is in regards to organizing the event is that you shouldn't be advertising the event before you actually have permission.
But it does not say that. It says it says organize. Where was it? It says organize, stage, promote. Advertising would fall under promote or conduct. I agree with stage, promote, or conduct, but how can somebody organize an event with a permit if they can't get a permit because they can't answer your questions because they can't organize?
For example, organizing in this sense would be that you've already gone out and gotten all of your vendors, that you've gotten your DJ, your live entertainment, and you haven't gotten a permit. So we're not stopping you from-
I had all of that arranged and had quotes and information when I came to you guys to get the approval, and I can't see how anybody planning a special event would be able to do any of that organizing before getting the permit if they're not allowed to organize before getting the permit.
I understand your
So
concern.
I just urge you all to consider that before our next reading, maybe even.
Right, and again, that's not something anybody's going to. You can do all the front end work that you want at your own risk. You're not going to have a code violation. You just know you're not going to be able to come and do that event until you get your permit. So I don't have a problem with it either way, to be honest with you. But like you said, it could be. We want this construed as broadly as possible. But
Right, and I agree. I just that little bit, like I would hate to do all the upfront work, come in, and then they say, you all say, well, you did all this organizing, and according to this, you can't organize, so we're going to decline your permit because you already organized it. I don't think any of y'all would, but y'all are not going to be up here forever.
Well,
most likely.
Can we put a little
So,
clause in there, Kevin?
I would just clear that up, please.
That maybe says excluding receiving quotes or trying to,
we can do whatever. We can delete the word organize. I don't really care. I mean, stage, promote, or conduct is going to. Again, we just want this as broad as possible. Obviously, nobody's going to know what sort of phone calls you're making before you come in. We're not going to. Right. It doesn't make it illegal. Only when you go and have the event. So, I mean, that's up to you. This is first reading. We can make revisions between, well, actually at the next, at the public hearing, if you guys want to make a motion when you approve it at the next meeting to delete that word, then you can think about it for 2 weeks and make that motion then.
Sure.
Any other discussion from the public?
Jody Moore on Amherst Street. I'm just wondering who is issuing the permits? Well, I know the city, but who specifically, and who makes the decision on who gets to be issued the permits? So who makes that choice? Who would say yes or no?
You can answer it, or I can answer it, doesn't matter. Yeah, you can go on, yeah.
The way it's spelled out is that the city manager or her designee, so she could appoint a staff person or be involved herself. So you would
Yes.
look at your appropriate personnel and appoint somebody.
And wasn't there something in there also about the commission could be called in to vote on the larger
Absolutely.
events for
If say for instance the city manager denies that event, that they can, it's appealable, they come before the commission, and commission may say, yes, we do want this. Permits are getting where the customer service is located, which is over in customer service. No one else takes payment or money except in that particular area there. When it comes to permitting, then we'll make sure that that permit is put into the system. And you know, basically we're going to take your information, we're going to look at it, make sure it falls within a small, medium, large event. Those guidelines we're going to follow, look at it and approve it. It's nothing to do with the meetings that we have at the meetings you're at the garden club or all of those other things you may have. This is about events and trying to just help us, because our parks are so beautiful and everybody wants to have events there. It's just to a point now we just can't keep up with all the events that are taking place and try to man those events. And I'm sure that our chief can speak to that, our police chief can speak to that, as well as our fire.
Right, yeah, so if the city manager decides to deny an application, she lets them know that in writing with the reasons for the denial, then they have a right to, I think, to 3 days to write a letter, and then it will come back to the commission as a form of an appeal.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say too, I noticed on the big events, 500 and over, they have to have everything in place, 45 days in advance?
Yes.
And again, taking what Ryan said, you guys aren't always going to be here, you know? We're not all going to be here. If that's the case, do you think, I'm just throwing this out there, on the big events, 500 and over, do you think that's something that the commission should vote on the bigger events, just to keep you from, I don't know. It's just a thought, since there's plenty of time to do that.
We did put that in place in terms of the 45 days so that if there are questions, the commission can surely ask. And one of the things we're just trying to streamline that to make sure we got a chance to meet with those organizers. And if there was something that we felt like was a conflict, surely we'd bring it to the commission.
Right, and that does, I mean, not necessarily for pre-approval from the commission, but with 45 days, the city manager can obviously in her report say, hey, we got 2 applications for these really large events coming up next month. Just let everybody be aware of it, certainly.
And this will also help you all. I know a lot of times you guys call me and say, you know, what's happening at Porter Park or Sheffield Park or what have you. And a lot of times we really don't know, because you do have those pop-up events, or an event has said to be, you know, it's going to be 50 people there and it's 500 people. And so that way, that'll help inform the commission as well.
All right. Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, moving on to item number 15. First reading by title only, ordinance number 1116, fire pension ordinance amendment. City manager, if you would read that ordinance by title only.
Yes. An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven amending Chapter 50, Personnel, Article 4, Firefighters Retirement System of the Code of Ordinances, the City of Lynn Haven, amending Sections 50 through 147, Deferred Retirement Option Plan, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, with providing an effective date.
All right, thank you. Chief?
Morning again. Basically what we presented to you was some of the fees that are in our schedule. Typically, our actuary, which is Foster & Foster, has a flat rate fee of $60 to provide quarterly statements to the drop members. Some time ago, the city had put into place that we charge the members an additional, I think it's 0.75%. So when I got to looking at it, I was like, so we're kind of double feeing the members. And they said, yeah, according to the ordinance, the way it's written, that's the way it's going to be unless we change it. So that's what we brought to you today, is to get rid of that 0.75% to the employee, and the plan pays the flat rate of the $60. It's a win for the employees.
Yep.
So moved.
And there's no actuarial impact to the city or the plan.
All right, thank you. Any further questions for Chief DeLonge? Thank you. Any discussion from the public? With this being the first reading, there is no discussion required for this. Thank you all for coming today. Meeting adjourned.